The Nigerian Stock Exchange Chief Executive Officer Oscar Onyema is currently into the first few minutes of his briefing of 2019. Look back, market activity, as well as the outlook for 2020, which was scheduled to be an hour's briefing. Let's get a bit of a sense of what this is all about and some of the statistics that we'll get from the stock exchange, as well as the milestones of the year under review by the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Adedayo Bakare is an investment research analyst from AfriInvest, is joining us live from our studios inside the stock exchange. Thank you so much, Adedayo. Good morning. Hope you had a great weekend.
Good morning, Boston.
Great. It's good to have you. Have you been able to take a listen for a couple of minutes to what Oscar Onyema is the CEO of the NSE is presenting on the 20th floor?
Unfortunately, I haven't, but I've been able to look at some of the numbers of the exchange over the past 1 year. We have a bit of sense as to performance in terms of trading statistics, also in terms of domestic participation versus foreign participation. Also, when you take in terms of listing as well, we had some very major listings last year. So overall, yeah, it wasn't a particularly spectacular year in terms of returns, but there were progress. I mean, there was a lot of progress in the market.
Okay, when you say progress, we deal with facts and figures here. So when we say progress, qualify that in terms of some numbers that you may have at your fingertips. Adedayo.
Okay, so when you think in terms of progress, you want to talk about the listings. That is mainly the major difference for us based on what happened in the market last year. The telecommunications sector, it's about 11% of Nigeria's GDP, and we saw the listings of two major corporates in that particular sector, Airtel Africa, as well as MTN Nigeria. Now, both of these companies have a very sizable market share, and when you think in terms of say the entire telecommunications industry, Airtel and MTN, they have over 60% of the market share of the market. And from there, you can get a better sense of the performance of the broader industry. Now, as a result of the listing of MTN and Airtel, we've seen significant growth in terms of market capitalization of the exchange. In 2018, I think we closed at around 9 trillion, 10 trillion or thereabout. And since the listing of these firms, market capitalization has increased rapidly. And even if you look at it relative to your GDP too, we've seen a significant improvement in terms of market capitalization to GDP. I believe in the course of the year, it rose by about 2 percentage points when you put it together over market capitalization to GDP. In 2018, we were doing about 9%, but towards the end of last year, we were doing about 11% to 12%. I think it's actually very, very significant. Also, when you think in terms of shares traded, when you think in terms of the value of shares traded too, as a result of the listing, not necessarily because the market had a very, very solid performance, you've had a bit of shares exchanging hands as well. And towards the tail end of 2019, you saw Obu Cement also and CCNN come together to merge the business, and we've seen the results in last week. So I think over last year, I would want to quantify last year in terms of the new listings we had, and as a result of that, the increased market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. What that basically means is the stock exchange being a leading indicator as it is in advanced economies, we're starting to see it domestically, because what is happening in the market, we can use it to predict the general pulse of the economy.
Okay, I'm getting a sense of what you're hinting at, I'm taking two questions out of that. The first is using the stock market or the stock exchange as quote unquote the barometer. So if you look at what government is doing with construction and how that impacted on some of the big constructions like Julius Berger we had on the market, you have the cement company, which are the first direct line of beneficiaries of this construction and all of that. So we haven't seen more agriculture as well, but with Presco and Okomo Oil. So do you think, and now with MTN and Airtel Africa, you think we're beginning to see some pillars of the economy, in the manner of speaking, reflecting in the position of the NSE?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, for the agriculture sector, it's not quite as huge as we would want it to be. When you think in terms of the agriculture sector to GDP, it's around 23-25% of GDP. But when you think in terms of the companies listed, the big companies listed in the agricultural sector, we have just Presco and Okomo. And in fact, that reflects the structure of production even in the agri sector. We have mostly smallholder farmers. So the representation we have on the exchange is more a subset of agriculture, which is palm oil sector. Also, when you move outside the agri sector, in manufacturing share of GDP is just around 9%. And in the manufacturing sector, one of the biggest subsectors we have is cement. And so with cement, with the listing of WAPCO already, the listing of Dangote Cement, and the listing of UBA Cement, we have about 99% of the entire cement market in Nigeria represented on the stock exchange. So it's a very good development because it gives us direct information about the market, and especially in light of government spending on infrastructure as well as on private sector investment in terms of infrastructure too. So it gives us a bit more sense about how the cement market is performing and how government policies has fueled that. When you go to the telecommunication sector, it's the same result. The listing of the two giants is quite significant. And basically, even before we get GDP data, we should be able to have a bit more sense of the performance of the economy, because usually GDP data is usually released like 2 months after a particular quarter has ended. But company financials would actually come out before then. So I think it's overall a positive development for the market.
So let's look at banking and insurance in 2019. The banks got a lot of beating, as it were, from the financial regulator. I'm not sure in any period since Godwin Emefiele became the central bank chief over the last 5 years had the banks come under intense pressure and rapid fire from the industry regulator as we had in 2019. That's on one hand. They had the insurance with their recapitalization program and all the plans that things will go well in 2019. It didn't happen. Then that was moved into June 2020. Then it's moved again to December 2020 by NICOM. So if you talk to us about these two sectors, look at the banking sector. What's the outlook from Afrinvest? How we eventually ended the year on the banking side. Then we'll talk about the insurance.
Okay. So for the banking sector, it's actually quite a positive sector. So in terms of for tier one banks, the likes of GTB, the likes of Zenith, in 2019, what we saw was the very rapid growth we've been seeing in earnings has come down a little bit, and that is because of the yield environment. In 2019, we had a low yield environment. Also, in terms of regulations, we had a wave of regulations. The most prominent last year was the establishment of a minimum floor for loan-to-deposit ratio. Initially, there wasn't a minimum, but CBN implemented a minimum of 60% last year, which was later reviewed to 65%. Overall, what that is telling us is the CBN wants to continue to drive, real sector credit and wants to support growth. So for the banks, the impact on their books has really been that they've had to do a bit of reallocation of their assets. So we've seen banks, reducing the holdings of investment securities and we've seen a bit more lending. So that has actually been very, very significant. If you look at the likes of FBN Holdings, if you look at Access Bank, we've seen a bit more strong growth, and that is because on the part of FBN, we've had all the issues they've had around bad assets, that has been resolved. Risk management has also been very, very stronger, and that has reduced the level of provisioning they make for bad loans. And as a result of that, we've seen a very significant increase in profit. Also, for Access Bank, the merger with Diamond Banks has brought a bit more in terms of the cost of funding. Cost of funding has reduced because of the retail base of the former Diamond Bank, and that has supported earnings significantly. So for the Tier 1 banks, we've seen when you look at the high end for the Tier 1 banks, the GTB, the Zenith, we've seen a bit of a moderation in terms of growth, but for the lower end, we've seen very, very strong performances. Also for Tier 2 banks, too, we continue to see very, very good performances for the likes of Stanbic, Unity Bank, Union Bank, and Wema as well. So, in 2020, we are optimistic that we'll continue to see that improvement. But really, the main factor will be how banks are able to balance the risk between lending aggressively and maintaining the quality of their portfolio. So if they're able to lend without compromising the quality of their portfolio, then we should see better performances. Now, going to the insurance sector, the elephant in the room in that sector is really the recapitalization exercise of the industry regulator, NICOM. The deadline has been extended by 6 months to December 2020. And the result of that on the market is basically we could see maybe a wave of mergers. We could see more equity raising in the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Already WAPIC as towards the end of last year, they embarked on a capital raising exercise on the stock exchange. So to increase the capital that would enable them to undertake more risk and have a bit more impact in the economy, we could see a lot of capital raising from the insurance sector.
A very interesting conversation we've been having. Adedayo Bakare. So what's your outlook on the rest of the year? Even as we speak right now, the market is opening today. Within this 1 hour of trading, 1.59% on the composite index. So the market is coming through. And as we're just having this conversation, the shares of MTN has gained a maximum 10% for the trading day. And of course, I'm sure you know what this statement the MTN rolled out on Friday, which was the saying that the withdrawal of demand for 242 billion naira and 1.283 billion US dollars alleged revenue indebtedness from MTN to the Nigerian government, and to resolve all of this is being pushed to the FRS and Nigeria Customs Service and other. You think this is flowing right now this morning into the shares of MTN, now trading 127 naira 60 on the main board of the NSE?
Yeah, absolutely. When you think in terms of the market's performance in the past 2 years, 2018 was not a very good year. 2019 was a very bad year. In terms of the pricing of the entire market, Nigeria's market became the cheapest. Even in frontier economies, in African peers, and even with emerging market peers. And we believe it is due to the very, very relative cheap valuation of the market, combined with the low yield environment. So due to the segmentation of the money market, where local corporates can participate in the treasury bills market and foreign investors can participate, and banks can participate in the OMO market, we've seen a lot of excess liquidity searching for outlets, and that is why we think as a result of the low yields in the markets, as investment managers are looking for where to put their monies into, and we believe equities will benefit definitely from increased liquidity in the market. Also, in terms of regulatory actions, the case against MTN that has recently been withdrawn by the Attorney General of the Federation's office is also very, very good. Last year, what we saw was a listing by introduction by MTN. They're yet to really sell down. So, and one of the risk factors underlying that was due to the pending case with the AGF, Now that that has been, resolved, that should provide a bit more optimism even for the company to come into the market and do, a proper capital raising. So maybe
I agree with you.
something to watch for the rest of the year. Also,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
So
guess, I guess
for
this
the
might
rest
just
of the
bring in
year,
at the
I mean, maybe
IPO.
into.
Go ahead quickly. We want to try and wrap up this conversation. Go on. The final word.
Okay. So we could see a bit more, BUA has gotten the market off to a bright start. We could see a bit more, listing. Maybe InterSwitch will come to the market. Maybe Indorama will come into the market. So I think the stars align quite well for the market currently. As long as the CBN's policies persist. In the case that we see a reversal and the yield environment becomes completely different from what we have now,
I think
then the outlook for the market might change very drastically.
Thank you so much. Adedayo Bakare from Afrinvest. Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming through, raising the curtain on the market for the current week. Thank you so much. Have a great day.